What if I told you that the person who saves your life might be someone you walk past every single day, someone you never notice, someone you never really see, not a doctor, not a powerful billionaire friend, not someone the world celebrates, but a janitor, a woman the world decided was invisible, a woman people looked through. Tonight's story is not just about money, not just about success or technology. This is a story about pride, about what happens when a man loses everything he thought defined him. This is the story of a powerful CEO, a man who hit rock bottom in a single night, and the quiet black woman who refused to let him fall. Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you will not look at people the same way again. You might even realize that someone in your life right now is waiting for you to finally see them. Let me take you back to Chicago, a city of lights, a city where dreams never sleep. At the center of it all was a man named Ethan Carter. Ethan was the kind of man magazines loved. Sharp suits, a confident smile, the CEO of a fast-growing tech company called Northbridge Systems. For more than a decade, Ethan sacrificed everything for success. Friendships faded away, family dinners turned into conference calls. Sleep became optional, but it worked. His office sat on the 42nd floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows, the city glowing beneath him like a kingdom he believed he had conquered. And on this particular night, Ethan truly believed he had finally reached the top. At 9:07 in the evening, he sat alone at his desk, reviewing documents for a deal worth billions. By morning, his company would join the ranks of America's most powerful tech firms. Everything he worked for, everything he gave up, was finally about to pay off. Then the screen flickered, just once. A red warning appeared in the corner, then another. Within seconds, alarms flooded every monitor in the room. Data loss, system breach, security failure. Ethan's heart slammed against his chest. He clicked wildly, trying to stop what was happening. But it felt like watching a building collapse from the inside. His company was under attack. Not slowly, not randomly, but precisely. Servers were being wiped clean. Customer data, financial records, years of work, disappearing in real time. Ethan grabbed his phone. He called his security director. No answer. He called his lead engineer. Voicemail. He called anyone whose name mattered. Nothing. He had sent everyone home early that night, confident everything was under control. Now he stood alone, surrounded by blinking red screens, watching his entire world burn. Outside the window, Chicago kept moving. Cars passed. Lights blinked. People laughed in restaurants. The city did not care. And for the first time in his life, Ethan Carter felt completely powerless. He sat frozen in his chair, staring at the screens like they might suddenly fix themselves. They didn't. The silence in that massive office pressed down on him. For the first time in years, there was no assistant, no engineers, no one to blame, just him. Then, he heard something, soft footsteps, slow, steady, followed by the quiet squeak of wheels rolling across the floor. Ethan looked up sharply. From the hallway, a woman appeared, pushing a cleaning cart. She wore a simple navy uniform, her sleeves rolled up slightly, dark hair pulled back neatly. She looked to be in her late 30s, maybe early 40s. Her eyes widened when she saw him sitting there in the dark. "Oh, I am sorry, sir," she said gently. "I did not know anyone was still working. I can come back later." Ethan laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Does not matter," he said bitterly. "You are not interrupting anything important." The woman hesitated. She looked from him to the glowing red screens behind his desk. Her expression changed, surprise turning into concern. "Are you okay?" she asked quietly. Ethan shook his head. "No," he said. "My company is collapsing right in front of me. Everything I built for 12 years is disappearing." Most people would have apologized and walked away. She didn't. Instead, she took a few slow steps closer, studying the screens carefully. "That is not a system crash," she said calmly. Ethan froze. "What did you say?" She pointed gently. "The access patterns, the deletion sequence. Someone is inside your network. This is a targeted cyber attack." Ethan stood up so fast his chair scraped loudly across the floor. "You understand what you are looking at?" She met his eyes. "Yes." "How?" There was a pause. Then she said something that made no sense at all. "Because I used to do this for a living." Ethan stared at her, a janitor, standing in his office, telling him what his $1 million security team could not. His mind rejected it instantly, but his desperation didn't. "What is your name?" he asked. "Aisha Brooks," she said. Most people just call me Aisha. Ethan looked at her for a long moment. His company was bleeding out, his experts were gone, his future was minutes away from vanishing, and suddenly, he had nothing left to lose. "Can you help me?" he asked quietly. Aisha studied his face carefully. Not his suit, not his title, but him. "I can try," she said, "but I will need full access." Ethan stepped aside. The CEO of a billion-dollar company gestured toward his chair. "It is yours." As Aisha sat down and placed her hands on the keyboard, something shifted in that room. Neither of them knew it yet, but this moment, this meeting between a desperate man and a woman the world refused to see, was about to change everything. What Ethan did not know, what no one in that entire building understood, was who Aisha Brooks really was. Years before she ever pushed a cleaning cart through quiet hallways, Aisha had been one of the brightest cybersecurity analysts in the Midwest. She was recruited straight out of college, respected by her peers, trusted with sensitive systems, and paid well for her talent. She protected banks, hospitals, and major corporations. The kind of work where one mistake could cost millions. Then life changed. Her husband became sick, fast, aggressive, the kind of illness that does not wait for plans or promises. Cancer did not care about her talent, or her career, or her future. Aisha walked away from her job to care for him full-time. Hospital rooms became her world. Machines replaced conversations, and savings disappeared into endless medical bills. When he passed, she was left with grief and a mountain of debt. When she tried to return to the tech world, doors quietly closed. Too much time away, too many gaps, too much risk for companies that only cared about speed. So she took the work she could find: night shifts, office buildings, invisible labor that kept the world running while no one noticed. Every night as she cleaned empty executive floors, Aisha paid attention. Passwords written on sticky notes, computers left unlocked, careless security practices waiting to become disasters. She saw problems before they happened, but no one ever asked her opinion. No one ever looked at her long enough to listen, until tonight. Now her fingers moved across the keyboard, not rushed, not panicked, but precise and confident. Ethan stood behind her, barely breathing, watching lines of code fill the screens, windows opening and closing, commands executing one after another. She was not guessing. She knew exactly what she was doing. She explained calmly that the main servers were compromised, but the backups were untouched, and that detail changed everything. Hope slowly returned to Ethan, a feeling he thought he had lost forever. She made no promises, only asked for full control and complete trust. Ethan handed her the master access key, placing his future in her hands. Together they moved through the building, past offices and boardrooms where power usually lived, down into the cold server room where the heart of the company beat. Hours passed, coffee grew cold, time blurred. For the first time in his career, Ethan was not in charge, and strangely, that felt right. When the systems stabilized, when the alerts faded away, Ethan finally understood something he had ignored his entire life. Success did not save him that night, people did. When morning arrived, the building felt different, quiet but tense, like it was holding its breath. Employees walked in whispering to one another, rumors spreading without names or details. Everyone could feel that something big had happened overnight. They searched for Ethan in his office, but he was not there. Instead, they found him in the basement, sitting beside Aisha in the server room, both holding paper cups of coffee, both looking exhausted, both smiling. No one understood why a woman in a cleaning uniform was sitting next to the CEO. No one knew her name. No one knew what she had done, but Ethan did, and for the first time in his career, he refused to let someone else take credit for invisible work. By noon he called an emergency meeting. Executives filled the boardroom with tight expressions and crossed arms. Tension hung in the air. Aisha stood near the wall, hands folded, aware that she did not look like she belonged there, yet unwilling to shrink. Ethan cleared his throat and spoke, introducing Aisha Brooks, telling them she saved the company, telling them she worked through the night while everyone else slept. Silence followed, then disbelief. One executive laughed under his breath. Another whispered the word janitor. Ethan did not smile. His voice hardened, and he announced her new role as head of cybersecurity, effective immediately. Shock rippled through the room. Faces changed. One man did not hide his anger. Grant Holloway, the chief technology officer, challenged the decision, questioned her background, questioned her presence. Ethan looked directly at him and said he knew enough. In that moment, Aisha understood something important. The danger was not over, because the people who fight the hardest are often the ones with the most to lose. Late nights returned, but this time Aisha was not cleaning floors. She was watching quietly. She studied logs, access points, patterns that most people would overlook. Something felt wrong. Small at first, almost invisible, but familiar to her. Someone inside the company was still testing the defenses, probing carefully, waiting for the right moment. Aisha followed the trail slowly, never rushing, never alerting anyone. Each night the same access appeared, the same credentials, the same timing. One name kept rising to the surface, again and again. Grant Holloway, the man who questioned her promotion, the man who had the deepest access, the man who understood the systems better than anyone else. Her stomach tightened as the realization settled in. This was not an outsider anymore. This was betrayal from within. She gathered the evidence carefully, timestamps, logs, hidden transfers. Then she went straight to Ethan. He stared at the screen in silence, his face draining of color, his hands resting on the desk like they needed support. "I trusted him," he said quietly. Aisha nodded. So did I. They decided to wait, to gather proof, to finish what had started. But someone noticed. Late one night, Aisha's phone vibrated. A single message appeared. "Stop digging." Her heart skipped. But she did not panic. The next morning, as she walked to her car, something caught her eye. A small device tucked beneath the frame. A tracker. The message was clear. She was being watched. This was no longer just about data, or systems, or money. It was personal now. Aisha removed the tracker, slipped it into her pocket, and made a decision. Instead of stepping back, she leaned in. That night, she created a fake database, filled with financial projections, acquisition plans, private investor information. It looked real, dangerous, valuable, bait. She left it visible, just enough to tempt someone watching. Then she waited. Ethan stayed late that night as well, watching quietly from his office through the glass walls, neither of them speaking much, both aware that something was coming. At 11:47 in the evening, the security monitors flickered for just a moment, a small blink that most people would miss. Then the system logged a high-level access request. Aisha's screen confirmed it instantly. Grant Holloway. Her chest tightened, but her hands stayed steady. Moments later, Grant walked into her office, his expression calm, his tone casual. "Still working late?" he asked. "Someone has to," Aisha replied, not turning around. Grant's eyes drifted toward her screen, lingering just a second too long. "You have been very busy since your promotion," he said quietly. "Digging into things that do not concern you." Aisha turned to face him slowly. "Everything that threatens this company concerns me." Grant's jaw tightened, his voice sharpened. "You think you outsmarted me. You have no idea how this world really works." That was when the lights came on. Ethan stepped forward from the shadows, his voice calm but firm. "It ends tonight, Grant." Grant froze, his eyes moving between them, calculating, searching for a way out. "You do not understand," he said desperately. "They offered me millions. They wanted the company weakened so they could buy it cheap. Anyone would have taken that deal." Ethan shook his head slowly. "No, not anyone." Security entered moments later, quiet, controlled. Grant did not fight. He did not need to. The evidence spoke louder than any excuse. Within days the truth spread. Corporate espionage, insider betrayal, a janitor who saved $1 billion company. But something unexpected happened. Investors did not flee, they stayed. Customers did not leave, they trusted more. Because honesty mattered, and courage mattered. Northbridge Systems did not just survive, it grew stronger. But the biggest change was not in profits. It was in Ethan. He stopped walking past people. He learned names, stories, lives. And Aisha. She never forgot where she came from. She kept her old uniform hanging in her office. Not out of shame, but as a reminder. 3 months later, Ethan led her back to the basement. The old server room was gone, replaced by a new space. A sign on the wall read, "The Brooks Innovation Center." Aisha's breath caught. "You did not have to do this." Ethan smiled softly. "Yes, I did. You saved my company. But more than that, you reminded me to see people. Their story did not spread because of money, or power, or business success. It spread because it reminded people of something we forget far too often. That greatness does not always wear a suit. That intelligence does not always come with a title. That the people we overlook are often carrying more strength than we imagine." Aisha Brooks was never invisible. the world simply chose not to look. Until one night, when someone finally did, and because of that moment, lives were changed, careers were rebuilt, and a company learned the value of dignity. So let me ask you something. Who have you been walking past without really seeing? Who has been standing right in front of you, waiting for a moment of recognition, waiting for someone to listen? Maybe it is a cleaner, a security guard, a co-worker you never learned the name of. Or maybe it is someone closer than you think. This story is not about technology or billion-dollar companies. It is about humanity, about humility, and about the power of truly seeing people. If this story touched you even a little, like the video, subscribe to Black Journeys 101, and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Because stories like this remind us of one powerful truth: we do not change lives by being important. We change lives by being human, and sometimes, the greatest miracle is not success. It is finally learning to see the people who are always there.